Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumful Reads, and in this video, we're going to be doing a book review of Life is an Ultramarathon, Embrace the Journey, the Dixie Madsen story. This is a memoir by Dixie Madsen, along with Sid Shapira. Now, I will say I did receive this book for free in exchange for an honest review, but I do that anyway, so let's just get started. What totally sold me with this book was that at 63 years old, Dixie Madsen ran the Badwater 135. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's a 135-mile ultramarathon race that you have 48 hours to complete. She did it at 63. You know, and that already that's impressive. Obviously, like I couldn't even come close to doing that. But it's also known as the Badwater 135 because it takes place in the Badwater Basin in Death Valley, California, during the height of summer, where temperatures are like over 100 degrees like the whole time. So running a 135-mile ultramarathon in 100 plus degree weather at 63, that like just totally sold me. Basically, right there, I had to figure out like what this woman's secret was. Um, Now the whole book is not just about her athletics, which she once she became like when she found the joy, the love of running, basically, and like ultra marathons, and even bodybuilding, which weightlifting is like something I really enjoy, so that totally sold me as well. However, it is a memoir about her entire life, almost like a short biography type format. And let's just say, life begins at 40 definitely applies to Dixie Madsen. That is like one of the most apt phrases that I could picture for this woman. Her childhood was pretty messed up. She had a pretty rough family. Just not a great, family dynamic going on. Without getting into too much detail, she ran away from home several times, things like that. Moved around place to place in foster homes. After a while, like when she was like in her high school years, things like that. But like I said, overall, just not super great, to be honest. All right, now when she got a little bit older, she did find someone that she fell in love with. Got married. Everything was great for a little while. They had a couple kids. However, one of her siblings, their house burned down, and the parents were killed. And she basically ended up taking in several nephews to go along with her own kids and raise them. So in her mid 20s, she was raising 7 kids at one time, which is alone is really impressive as well. Just raising like one kid at that age is just I'm having a hard time already. I can't imagine doing having 7 kids. Now her marriage also began to deteriorate. Alcoholism was involved after like work injuries, things like that. Just the husband was not, not particularly a shining example of what a husband should be. And after basically moving around the country a little bit, she eventually ended up loving San Diego after moving there, and she stayed in San Diego after the divorce was finalized when her kids had graduated and everything. Then she got remarried, but her next husband basically had a heart attack within like a year, or it's like 2 years or something of them getting married. So overall, having a rough childhood, a rough first marriage, not really a second marriage, just having to raise a bunch of kids by herself, essentially. It was just a really hard time. However, in her 40s, she actually found like her soulmate in like the legit definition of the word. And she even admits, those 30 years that she had with this third husband, Kendall, basically definitely the greatest she had by far. But it just sounds really cool because they met from her basically starting to really enjoy running. They met like at a track club, things like that. But they were both like really into fitness and running and weightlifting, things like that. And it just like the spark was just there like instantly. And it's really cool just to see how everything just completely took off. For example, yeah, she said, "Oh, you can't marry me unless you run a marathon." So he went and trained for a marathon like that same year and did it. And then that marathon was in Hawaii, and they got married in Hawaii and everything. And they went and visited that same like cliff top retreat type thing like every year for quite some time. So it's just really cool seeing how her life was able to finally change after 40 years old, which is like kind of really interesting to see how like the first half of someone's life could be like really rough and tumble and just a slog to get through, to be honest. Lots of stuff going on, and then finding basically, like I said, your soulmate at 40, and then like basically living your life to the fullest by far after you're already 40 years old. And like I said, that's when she's running her ultra marathons. The Battlewater 135, like I said, was in her like 60s. She won like a Miss San Diego bodybuilding contest, I think at like 51, if I remember correctly. So overall, her story is just incredible. And it's like I said, it's not just the fitness stuff towards the end of her life, which are obviously very impressive. Some of the track records and like I said, racing records and weight bodybuilding records and everything that she was able to accumulate later on in life. But basically all the struggles she went through in the first half of her life and how basically brutal those were, and how she basically just kept pushing forward essentially no matter what. So I really did enjoy that. So overall, I did enjoy the book. There were a couple, I don't know if I'd call them flaws, but kind of the way the book is written every now and then was kind of weird, in the sense that you'd have like a chapter on either a particular topic. So it wasn't, it was mostly chronological, but like I said, some chapters were kind of more topical, and it kind of went like back and forth and stuff. And it just seemed kind of disjarring a little bit. Just didn't seem like a natural flow at sometimes. And basically how I would describe it, a lot of the narrative takes place almost like you would hear your grandmother like tell you like a really long story for like an hour. Obviously Dixie Madsen, I think, is in her 80s or 90s at this point. But the book does come across as sort of like being narrated to by like your grandma, essentially. In some ways, in some places it is kind of charming and it makes sense. In other ways, it kind of just gets tedious a little bit. I don't know if that's just because I read it all basically over 2 sittings. I believe I read this book. It's not too long. I think it's like 140 or 150 pages. But overall, I really did enjoy reading this memoir. It is a really good story, especially if you like fitness and stuff. That's kind of like an added bonus on top of the sort of life struggles and everything. But overall, I'm going to give Life is an Ultramarathon, Embrace the Journey, the Dixie Madsen story, 4 out of 5 stars. I hope you guys pick this up if you basically are looking for something where someone who has pushed through a lot of just like messed up like struggles early on in life, and you know, even like in your 20s and 30s, things don't really seem to be turning around that much. But like I said, when she hit like her early 40s, everything just like completely turned around. Even though most people would consider, you know, the zenith of their life is like already almost over at that point. That's when things like really just completely picked up for the better. Like I said, the weightlifting or the racing, the fitness stuff is kind of like an added bonus for people like me who like enjoy stuff like that. So overall, 4 out of 5 stars to Life is an Ultramarathon. And just tell me what your favorite memoir in recent memory has been. Be glad to go check that out, as memoirs are kind of a book or a genre of books that I'm trying to start to read a little bit more on. Leave what your favorite memoirs have been in the past. Leave some comments down below. Be glad to go check those out. And always remember, read victoriously.